Hi, today's movie is the 1963 science fiction horror film The Atomic Brain. Now that's a title that screams quality. I'm having a bad hair day and it's really cold, so I'm wearing a hat. Let's check out The Atomic Brain.
To live on the bodies of helpless victims. Is man now doomed
Getting the
to produce a
Cheesecake
race
Factor
of
in from the start, this
monstrosity,
bodes well.
worse than the vampires of legend. This girl was buried in a nearby cemetery yesterday. Only a few hours
Sleazy.
ago, her body was stolen.
So, we're expected
By
to be
Dr.
perving
Otto
on a
Frank
naked dead woman.
and
That's
brought to
nice.
this hidden laboratory. He has grafted
It's setting a
living
nice
animal's
tone right
brain
from the
into this
start.
newly dead body.
This score is getting on my nerves already. We're only about 2 minutes in. That's quite nicely lit. They've made an
Deep
effort
below,
there.
Dr. Frank takes the chance of smashing his way into a newly sealed vault. His experiments cannot continue without another body.
Oh,
Inside the vault,
so,
a body waits.
so was the vampire we just saw connected to the doctor's experiments or just something separate that's happening at the same time?
This is one of the doctor's mistakes, a monstrosity. An animal's brain
Oh.
grafted to a human body. Leaving the dead watchman, the monstrosity carried the girl's body out of the vault. It fears and obeys one master, Dr. Frank.
So they didn't want the Watchman's body, but they wanted another dead girl's body, presumably because the Watchman wasn't hot and female. Well, that makes sense. But in leaving the Watchman's body, they've left evidence of their crime, which does not make sense.
Been in the vault for only a few hours. Chances seem better this time. Still, Dr. Frank was doubtful. Tissue in dead bodies deteriorates rapidly. Where were the live, fresh bodies he'd been promised?
This is a lot of voiceover
He
exposition.
bitterly resents that every step forward depends on the whim of a miserly old woman brooding upstairs in her bedroom.
Lionel Rhodes, 18, no family. Please.
If she's got the money to pay for a live-in
Whatever that
gigolo,
might mean.
she could have perhaps done a little bit better.
Thick ankles, pimply face.
Is anyone else troubled by the spectre of holding up dead female bodies for titillation? Or is it just me?
More of this hocus pocus, Hettie.
The doctor transplanted a brain from a live dog to a dead human body. You saw the creature walk out of that cylinder alive.
How many failures since then?
A live
Your
dog
money.
brain in a human body.
Bodies must be fresh.
Protection. As for the police, if they come here, I hit this switch, a nuclear reaction is set off. Close the circuit breaker, and in a matter of minutes, this house and any evidence it might contain becomes a radioactive hole in the
Be
ground.
careful.
We can wait for that.
So if the police are going to come, he's going to set off a nuclear bomb. Okay.
Seems alive.
She is, to a limited extent. She'll be able to move around, but the brain deterioration is too extensive for thought processes.
Don't tap on the glass. She's not a fish in a fish tank. Really? Glockenspiel is sexy now? Sexy glockenspiel music?
Say, pardon me, but how far is Hollywood from here? I'm what's known as a born domestic. For the next 12 months, I'll be scrubbing floors and making beds. But when my time's up, Hollywood will look out. That's strange.
Oh, that's quite a British accent she's got there.
Passage too. I'm from Vienna, Austria.
She must have gone to the Dick Van Dyke dialect school.
No.
Por favor. I know speak English very good.
You know, do Spanish accent very good either, I'm sorry to say.
Victor wondered which one Mrs. March would pick. The little Mexican, the girl from Vienna, or the buxom blonde. Victor knew his pick. But he still felt uneasy. Making love to an 80-year-old woman in the body of a 20-year-old girl is insanity. Still, Hettie's plan to transfer her fortune to the new body had been brilliant.
This film was
Unpleasant to think
creepy.
of what was going to happen to these girls, but a man has to consider his own future. What would happen?
Are there any other servants?
No, but I don't think you're going to find it boring.
Unlike this movie.
No one's to leave this house without permission.
I've never seen a vampire with fangs that come up from the lower jaw before. That is something new. He looks more like a wild boar. Oh, he must be the one with the dog brain implanted. Now it all makes sense.
Turn round. Slowly. Get the doctor. Get the doctor.
She's not a great employer.
I want them examined immediately.
Very well. This way.
Now, if this was me at this job interview, I think I would be leaving.
Victor, the doctor can Idiot. She's useless.
There is one more test I should make.
Do anything you want with her. The other two?
Perfect medical specimens.
What's so bad about having a birthmark on your back? Oh my god. These musical sexy cues.
I don't blame her for not wanting to sleep in the basement.
Basement.
It's funny, so Branson, I'm not doing anything.
I don't want you running up and down stairs. Those pretty legs of yours will get ugly muscles. Send Nina to me.
Yes, ma'am.
For a horror film, this is so far entirely without suspense or horror. Oh god. Get on with it. They could outrun her. She does not move fast.
B.
Isn't there a front door they should be heading towards? No? It's nice that he gives the zombie a filmy negligee to roam around the house in. Half of this movie is taken up with this old lady walking slowly around the house. Oh, a woman with a cat brain. That's not a bad science fiction horror idea.
Well, I see you still resent the way Mrs. Marsh treats you. I can't say that I blame you. Kitty's always been very fond of me, haven't you?
Does anyone else get the feeling that this mad scientist is having sex with these zombie women and dead bodies? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Is that Anita? Where? Oh, I don't think so.
The one with the completely different hair? Is that Anita? No. This movie's only an hour long. Half of the movie, at least, is taken up with just shots of people walking around.
Anita, what's the matter with you? Don't you know me?
They have to have a showdown between the woman with a cat brain and the man with a dog brain. More stair climbing.
Anita! Anita!
What?
I'm the only man allowed to today, capable of restoring your friend's sight. Dr. Alexis Carrell.
So this is Nina's first meeting of the doctor, learning there's a mad doctor in the basement of the house doing experiments. She doesn't seem surprised at all.
For this, he received the Nobel Prize.
Mrs. March had not realized her new body had such a satisfactory shape. Perhaps not as spectacular as the English girl, but in excellent taste. She couldn't help being amused. The stupid girl was not only modeling Mrs. March's future wardrobe, but Mrs. March's future body. So firm, so nicely rounded in places manlike.
You're not needed now, Victor. Close the door quietly when you go out.
Not going to be needed at all. Syndicate, that's what you're saying.
Orphan girl, sole heir to Marge millions. Nina Rhodes has a lucky star. I don't
If they were
understand.
clever, they'd just kill
The next
Mrs.
press
March.
release will be March Mansion destroyed by fire.
Oh, hat pin! Why didn't they show us any of the killings? There's so little action in this film as it is, and then they never show the violence, the killings when they happen.
You've got to come with me.
What has he got in his hands? Oh.
Mrs. March no longer has a thing to say. Do you, my dear? Completely recovered, I'd say. How do you feel?
Oh. Mrs. March's brain is in a cat.
I guess a transplant would be better. It won't hurt.
But Mrs. March doesn't take things lying down.
My eyeball! Oh. She couldn't leave without her eyeball.
Mrs. March did not intend to let her money get out of sight. She would follow that girl. Sometime, someplace, revenge would come.
That's it. Jean Cower, you are the one to blame for this terrible score. Well, what can we say about the Atomic Brain? It starts off with quite a good gothic horror premise of this creepy mansion with this deranged, wealthy old lady running the mad scientist in the basement, doing the experiments to transfer, brains into different bodies. But it really does so little with it. The script is poor, the acting is pretty poor, the pace is terrible. They really could have done so much more with their setup, even with the obviously limited budget. Instead, we have an hour-long film that's occupied mainly with people walking up and down stairs, people walking around corridors, and some pretty sleazy cheesecake elements. Really, the only interesting thing about this film that I could find was that Marjorie Eaton, who plays the crazed Mrs. March, ended up playing Emperor Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back, of all things. Wikipedia says she wore makeup and was revoiced, but it was her. I don't know, I just think they could have done so much more with this idea with just a little bit more thought and a little bit more effort. I couldn't really recommend The Atomic Brain. It is boring and it is slow. Maybe only worth seeing if you're after a bit of a morbid curiosity of a movie, or if you want to see the actor who portrayed Emperor Palpatine in an earlier role. And the score was incredibly annoying. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope I'll see you next time with a movie that's perhaps a bit more enjoyable than this one. I'll see you then. Bye.